1. For context, I work at a chain bakery that has a bright blue polo shirt and khaki-colored pants as a uniform, with the bakery's logo embroidered on one side of the sleeves. Coming home from work on the bus, there's a small plaza at the stop before mine that has some pretty bomb pizza. And every once in a while I'll stop by the plaza to grab some and walk the rest of the way home. The uniform there is a fire truck red shirt with the logo completely covering the back, and black pants. If someone can tell me how Karen got this mixed up, I would love to know. The cast is me, Pizza Girl, PG, Manager M, and Karen, K. Anyway, here's the story. On this great day, I was running on 3 or 4 hours sleep. A cheese croissant and coffee, had just gotten off of an 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift, and hadn't had time to grab lunch while on break, so suffice to say I was hungry. Hungry enough that I didn't even care that I was still in my work uniform. I just wanted some food pronto. So I stopped by the pizza parlor, grabbed a slice, some Mountain Dew, and a cookie for the road, and sat down a happy customer. I had my headphones in and was scrolling through my phone while I ate, when the staff disappeared behind the counter. No biggie. About a minute later, Karen walks in. It was just me in the place at the time, and the staff was still in the kitchen. The most attention I gave her was a quick glance before looking back to my phone and taking another sip of my pop. I assumed she would just go up to the counter and order, like a normal person, but I assumed wrong. Before I knew it, she was standing right beside my table and giving me that good old disapproving care that only Karens are capable of. This was our interaction. Can I help you? Hi, can I get a... Oh, sorry, but I don't work here. She pauses, with an expression that suggests this information was too large of a worldview shift for her to process, and in the end, her brain just could not compute. First, don't interrupt me, that's very rude. Second, that's a uniform. This is an establishment. I know you work here, so don't give me that attitude. The logic of this Karen made my own brain short-circuit, and I guess it showed on my face because the next thing I knew her jaw dropped in shock, and she was railing on me and my horrendous work ethic, and berating me over wearing headphones on the job and eating all the products that are meant for customers. She even went as far as to say that I made a huge mistake as she was a regular and had more than enough leeway to get me fired. Side note, if she was a regular, she would have known what the uniform looked like. It was around this point that I remembered the logo on my sleeve and just wordlessly turned my arm and pointed at it. Karen stopped yelling long enough to give it a proper look, and I could see the color just drain from her face. I'm a petty little shit though, so to rub salt in the wound, I tacked on a not-so-friendly "see that?" the company's name. What was this place called again? Then, not 2 seconds later, an actual staff member shows up behind Karen and asks if there's a problem. I thought that was the end of it. Yes, there's a problem. Your co-worker was extremely rude to me. Yep, that's right. Karen was still insisting that I worked there. Pizza Girl looks at me and recognizes me as the girl that she's just served. Ma'am, she doesn't work here. Don't lie to me. I want to see a manager. PG goes to get her manager, all the while Karen is giving me the snobbiest death stare I've ever gotten in my life. I just sighed and took another sip of my pop. Then PG and her manager come back out. Hi, what's the problem here? That girl refused to take my order and was extremely rude to me. You need to discipline her. Same as PG, the manager looks at me and knows I don't work for her. She doesn't work here, ma'am. But I can take your order if you like. Finally, Karen leaves me alone and follows the manager to place her order. I could hear her complaining about me though, so I started picking up my things to eat my pizza at home and in peace. PG stopped me though, handing me a takeout bag with another slice, garlic dip, and a cookie. She said it was both an apology for having to deal with Karen and a thank you for being one of the nicer regulars. Still puts a smile on my face, and this was yesterday. On my way out though, I heard Karen demanding a free pizza. I hope those guys turned out okay. Anyway, thank you for listening. 2. Hi everybody, I'm back. I was the guy from Adventures in Fast Food and Retail number 42, who had the story about the drunken porno pilferer who almost gave himself a turnstile vasectomy. As stated, I've got a myriad of stories revolving around my near decade at this job. That being said, let's get started. Now, one thing that really grinds my gears is when the older generation harps on my generation for being entitled and rude. So in a way, I guess this story serves as a reminder that they are not above anybody else. It was your typical lazy Sunday. Church hadn't quite gotten out yet, and the majority of people coming into the store were just buying minutes for their phones. As mentioned previously, this was not just a video store, we are a jack of all trades. Most customers come to us for their time because not only did we sell it, if you had problems putting it on yourself, we could do it for you. So up until coming back from my lunch break, that's pretty much all we did. Now the way things worked out on Sundays was that we had 3 people working the majority of the day: a manager, the store owner, and a relief person. I'd been back from my break no later than 20 minutes, when we had that one customer who the majority of us see walk in the door, and we eye-roll so hard we can see the interior of our skulls. She was red in the face, and already fuming before even entering the store. I turn away and do the aforementioned eye-roll and just wait for it. She enters the store, storms around to my register, and throws a DVD returner on the counter so hard it slides off and lands at my feet. "How could you rent such disgusting propaganda?" She asks me with a loud and disgusted tone to her voice. I bend down to pick up the film and see she's managed to grab a copy of the Omen remake. Now, I'm going to digress for a moment. I would like to give you a little bit more background on this customer. I have no problems with people who aren't religious. I was raised with an open mind, but this lady, and I'm using the term as loosely as possible, was the type of person that made level-headed churchfolk cringe whenever she spoke about something in regards to her better-than-thou Christian mindset. Shortly before I began working at the store, she figures out we had been selling adult movies. She tries to organize a protest and ends up being the only one to show up. From what the store owner told me, she spent a little under 4 hours standing in front of our entryway with a bullhorn and a picket sign reading, "All ye who enter here abandon all hope." She indiscriminately yelled to damn near every person who entered the store or exited. She would scream about our establishment being filthy smut peddlers or scream out biblical verses from Revelations. The real kicker, she would look through these very large bay windows in front of the store to see if the owner or any of the managers were coming to tell her to leave the premises. And she would dip down the alleyway that separated a few of the stores in our plaza. It finally took a state trooper threatening her with arrest to get her to pack up her shit and leave. We'd come to find out afterwards that she wasn't really breaking any laws and therefore he could not arrest her if he wanted to. Then again, she wasn't exactly the sharpest crayon in the sandwich drawer. So there was a good chance she wouldn't call his bluff. She swore to the heavens that she would never shop at our store again. Apparently in her world, never equates to just under a month. Now that I've got you up to speed, back to the scheduled programming. So I'm standing there, looking at her with a deer-in-the-headlights expression, as she's just continually going on about the abomination of a film I'm holding in my hand. The store owner pops his head out of the back room and shoots me a look like he was silently asking me if I needed help. I cocked my eyebrows in return, and I think he was able to read my "it's good, I've got this" look without a problem. I interjected as she was going on her little tirade. Again, this was nothing new. I look in her eyes and I ask, "What exactly is the problem with this movie? Did it work?" I pulled the disc out of its case and eyed it down, looking for visible damage such as scratches, fingerprints, etc. She looks at me dumbfounded. "What's the problem? What's the problem? It's satanic garbage. It's not marked clear enough. Oh, and I had no idea what I was getting." Now, I don't know too many people who have never heard of The Omen. Given her age, she was probably a teenager when the original hit the theaters. So I really didn't buy that whole "I didn't know what I was getting" angle. I walked out from behind the register, had to grab the DVD case. I turn it around and begin reading the movie description aloud. I begin walking back to my register while doing so. By the look on her face, I could tell she was getting angrier. Frankly, I didn't give a damn. This wasn't the first time she'd played this little hand, and unfortunately for us, it wouldn't be the last. I get back to my station, still reading the movie box. And I finish just as I faced her once again. I then take a moment to point out the neon green horror sticker in the upper left-hand corner of the box art. I then pick up the rental copy and point out the size 14 impact font, white letters on a black background that read, "Horror." Now please tell me how you had no idea this was a horror flick. You had not one but 3 opportunities to find out before taking it off the shelf and renting it. Going with my gut, I scanned the film to check it back in, and I get hit with that ominous text. 7 days overdue. I explained to her that's 7 days late on a 5-day rental. And at this point, there's really nothing I can do. She was a 6-year customer with the store and fully aware of our policies. We had no problem exchanging a film if a customer had mistakenly grabbed the wrong thing, the movie didn't work, or on rare occasions, the wrong movie was in the box. So long as the customer contacted us within a feasible amount of time. A week late was anything but feasible. She begins to demand a full refund, and I explained that due to the fact that she had the film 12 straight days, and did not contact us about any problems, there was nothing I could do. A reasonable person would have gotten this. As I'm sure by now you have all figured out that she was anything but reasonable. She starts screaming at the top of her lungs again, while pointing out my tattoos. Mind you, all of them are tasteful. Most of them have to do with my heritage or lost loved ones. Nothing creepy, nothing graphic. My pierced ears and the fact that I am a male with long hair. Of course you wouldn't do anything to help me out. Your generation is nothing but a bunch of Satan-worshipping heathens. Your long hair, your tattoos, your pierced ears, you're probably one of those disgusting gays. Of course you discriminate against me based on my religion. It takes every fiber of my being, every ounce of self-control I had at the time, not to play pin the tail on the hypocrite. I could have called her out on her bull and reminded her about the time that I was getting gas at the Hindu-owned gas station across the street, and she came storming in demanding a refund for an open pack of cigarettes. They refused as it was their policy, and she told them to go back to Mexico. I could have let her in on the little fact that her pastor was part of our tabletop gaming group, and at one point over a game of Clue confided in us that he was thinking of kicking her out of the congregation. I could have said a lot of things. But that measly $7.35 an hour was my car insurance, gas, groceries, and my portion of the monthly rent. I wasn't about to let some uppity weekend warrior cost me my job. Fortunately for me, the store owner had heard the majority of what was going on, and cut his lunch short to take over the situation. I explained what was going on to him, and he reiterates exactly what I told her. She had the movie for 12 days, and we were not going to refund her. He capped it off with the fact that he wouldn't even do that for his own son. Policy is policy, and she knew that when she signed the customer agreement. She walks out the door, screaming a steady string of profanities and slurs, and as soon as she got in her car and drove away, I let out an audible scream. The owner told me I handled it like a trooper. He turns to the computer and put a note on her account, warning everybody else in the store not to allow her anything beyond a PG rental from that point onward. Of course, it became a running joke for a little while in the store. One of my co-workers would grab a horror flick off the shelf and hand it to me while telling me to religiously discriminate against them. Some would even ask me for fashion advice. A month later, she would try something similar and get banned permanently, after throwing her phone at our bay window and shattering 2 of the panes. This, of course, happened on my day off. If only I could have been a fly on the wall for that. 3. So I work at a small but pretty nice discount retail store. Some things you should know for this story are: number 1, management is very adamant about us not working off the clock, which is good as we get paid for all our work time. It does mean we're not obligated to help customers then either, but most of us will answer quick, easy questions like where an item would be, or at least direct them to a clocked-in person who can help. Number 2, associates cannot clock in more than 2 minutes before they are scheduled to work. The computer doesn't allow it, and a manager has to override it if you're asked to come in early, or at a time not already on the schedule. Number 3, the login for everyone, associates and managers, is at the registers, up front. So most workers come in, drop off any bags or such in the break room, and then come back up to the front to log in and get to work. Not a bad or complicated system. On this particular day I was working the register as usual, so I get to see this whole thing go down as I'm checking out customers. One of my co-workers comes in, a little early for her shift, but was already in uniform with name badge on, so she'd be ready to go. Since she had a few minutes to spare, she stops to look at some of the new merch up front when a male customer approaches her. He politely asks her where the bathroom is, and she tells him because, obviously, that's a super easy question, and again, he was nice about it. But then another customer, an older woman, comes up to co-worker and demands, not politely at all, that she help her find what she's looking for. Co-worker tries to explain that she's not actually clocked in, and that one of the cashiers would be able to help her when they have a minute. The woman does not like that answer, and begins to berate my co-worker on how rude she is, and how she needs help now and doesn't want to wait for someone else. Co-worker is just kind of stunned because this lady is in her face and literally preventing her from taking her purse to the break room now. Head manager, who was also cashiering, but is able to step away so she can try to help the situation, comes over. And before she can even ask the woman if she can help her, the lady decides she's going to full-on play the victim. Now she goes off saying the reason co-worker doesn't want to help her is because she's black. Co-worker and manager are both white, just for reference. And how she helped that white man but not her. Now I know racial prejudice is a huge problem, and discrimination in retail and tons of other places is horrible and should not be tolerated. But this lady was just an entitled jerk using the color of her skin to get away with it. Thankfully my manager is calm but firm, explaining again that co-worker was not on the clock and could not help her, and that in fact, she needed to go put her stuff away so she could clock in. The woman only seemed to half process this, saying something along the lines of, "You need to hire people to actually do their job," or something equally illogical. And she was still there when co-worker came up to officially clock in for her shift. Almost late, thanks to this rude lady. The woman even tried to get one last jab in with a snide, "Oh, now she's ready to work." My manager just looked at her and said, "Yes, she's clocked in now, but she's assigned to the stockroom today, so I'm afraid she won't be able to help you." I'm not 100% sure, but thinking back, this rude customer might have been the same one I have at least 2 other crazy stories about. She was memorable. 4. I work at a budget phone retailer. I've been working there for around 6 months this time. Another piece of context for this story is that the area is a small southern town, and this location is the only location close to other small towns in the area. Meth is a huge problem in this area, and towns surrounding it, so I've gotten used to dealing with tweakers as they come in. I'm always very respectful and don't treat any customer differently than any other, regardless of how they treat me, their financial situation, or how much they try to buy, considering I work off of commission. It's about 15 minutes until I close up the store and I'm starting to get ready to take everything down. In comes MH. MH comes in with her 2 friends, obviously all of them tweaking hard when they come in. Obvious meth sores from them using the substance and such. Fast talking and the paranoia. MH comes up to me complaining that her phone from another budget phone retailer got hacked and she needed a new phone for free. I told her I would happily supply her with a new phone, as long as it was okay for me to get her PIN number and account number from her previous provider, so I could get her that phone. Note: my company only offers free phones if you bring in your number from a non-AT&T company. She got mad, saying that she didn't want the same number, so I informed her that if we went through the process, she could get a new number for a $15 fee after we got her the phone. Still would have been around $30 cheaper than if she didn't bring it over. She refused that and just said she'd get a new number on the cheapest plan available. I began to do her order and everything, and she asked if she would be able to download apps and such. I told her she would be able to with a Google account. She was getting a bottom-of-the-barrel Android phone. She said she didn't trust Google and wanted her apps regardless. I informed her she could try to download the applications from non-Google sources, but that posed security risks. She eventually said she'd create a new Google account as long as I made it for her. I obliged to make it for her, and I even give her a new phone case and tempered glass screen protector to help keep her phone protected at almost half the cost we're supposed to sell it at. It hurt my commission, but a sale is a sale. I make her a new Google account, give her the new number, and show her how to work the phone. She seems satisfied enough, so I walk her to the door and wish her a good night. I finish closing up the store, set the alarm and everything, and as I walk out, she comes up to me and says her phone has already been hacked. I explain to her that it's impossible, that her phone has been hacked already, and I can already feel myself getting ready to go off on her. It's around 45 minutes to an hour after I was supposed to clock out. She shows me a setting on her phone, and I calmly explain to her that it's normal for that setting to be on the phone. She then shows me the normal games and apps that come pre-installed on the phone, and I tell her it's stuff that comes pre-installed on the phone, and she has a hard time believing it. I tell her to trust me that I've set up dozens of phones of her model, and that's all normal. She tells me she'll be back if it gets hacked like her last phone. I'm sure she'll come back, so I'll let my co-workers know about her, what she looks like, her name, her phone model, and her complaints. Cue a few days later. I'm about to close up shop again, and MH comes back in again, saying she's been hacked. I ask her a few questions like, have you put your card information or banking information on your phone? Stuff like that, you know, things hackers would actually care about stealing. She said,
No, but they're still able to hack it. They bought a universal Google key from the dark web to hack my account.
At this point I'm rolling my eyes, but I offer her to disable every Google application on her phone and completely delete the Google account I made for her. She's ecstatic about this, and happily gives me her phone. I do everything to make sure her phone was only for talk and text. She sits in her car for a few minutes afterwards and comes back in the store and tells me she's still getting hacked. I look over her phone again and tell her that no, she isn't getting hacked. She has no account info on the phone nor any apps on the phone that would allow remote access. She looks at me in a disbelieving way and tells me she doesn't believe me, but she'd trust me and give it another day, and if
I'm hacked again, I'm coming back for a flip phone.
A few days later she comes back and returns her phone for a flip phone, saying,
I've definitely been hacked.
At this point I don't care anymore about making her happy, so I let her return the phone, but just the phone. The case and screen protector are non-refundable. I let her know that this phone has no connection to Google and cannot be hacked by the Google Dark Web key that she explained earlier. She seems happy and leaves again with her flip phone. And that's the last I saw of her. Though after my 2 days off I came back to work, and my manager informed me that MH came back trying to return the flip phone, saying it was hacked as well. I'm super glad I've never had to deal with her since. 5. So I work for Taco Bell. There are like 4 Taco Bells in my area. I work at one by a freeway. But I live next to a different one. So 2 separate issues have occurred from this. Issue 1. Sometimes when product is low before order days, we borrow from other stores. Well, my store needed pizza boxes, and they sent me to one of the stores nearby to pick up a case for us. Like most chains, the stores are set up similar and we all have the same uniforms. Usually the cashier knows we're coming and we just go get the stuff ourselves. Let the MIC, manager in charge, know we got it. Go on our merry way because we have shit to do at our own store. So I come in, cashier smiles and says the stock is by the dishwasher in the back. I go back there and tell the MIC there I'm there to grab the pizza boxes. They wear different shirts so you can tell them apart. She waves me on and continues making her order. As I'm looking for the case I need, another MIC, who I think was the general manager, comes past me and starts yelling at me like so.
Why the hell aren't you taking front orders? I don't need you stocking right now. Get up there, the walk-in has a line.
Oh no, ma'am, I'm from another store. I'm just here to get pizza boxes.
Bullshit, you work for my store, I know it. You're the new cashier. And you aren't making a good impression. Get on the damn register, it's your drawer.
Listen, I work for Jill. Your MIC knows I'm here for pizza boxes. I'm not your cashier. I'll kindly help you if you are that backed up, but I'm not sure who your cashier is, and I'll need to be on my way to my own store soon. She stormed off, pissed. I went back to my store to find out she called my store all angry and told my GM I was rude and she better not send me to her store again. I told her what happened. My GM put up a note that says we are not to let that location borrow from us anymore. Second issue. I live next to a different location. I went one day with my daughter to eat cause she likes the nacho cheese tacos. Mind you, I'm in blue jeans and a white shirt that says, "Let's summon demons." Taco Bell's current uniforms are all black with colored logos on the back of the shirts. I clearly don't look like an employee, cause I'm not. This is not my store. I wasn't even scheduled that day. We get our food, we sit, and she starts talking about her video game she beat. 5 minutes later, this woman comes up to me and clears her throat. So I look up.
Don't you think that taking your lunch right now is inappropriate? Your co-workers clearly need assistance. There is a large line.
Lunch rush was starting for them. I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't work here, and I'm just trying to have lunch with my daughter.
You do work here. I've seen you before. And who even brings their little child to work? Can I speak to your manager? This is ridiculous.
Maybe you have seen me, but I work at a different location off the freeway, not this one. I'm clearly not in uniform, and as I said, I'm having lunch with my daughter, so I cannot assist you. I'm not an employee here.
A Taco Bell is a Taco Bell, right? Go get behind that counter and take my order. I'm tired of waiting.
Fuck no, I don't work here and I'm not taking your damn order. Leave me and my daughter alone. The lady storms off, screaming she's gonna get the manager. Manager is already on her way because she heard the noise. Lady screams I should be fired because I wouldn't help her. Manager knows me and my store. Tells her I don't work at this location and I'm not required to assist her, but she can gladly take her order. Lady demands she calls my boss and fires me. Manager says she's not gonna do that. So the lady pays for her food and storms off to the drink station. All good, right? No. This bitch gets her cup full of soda, comes back and throws it on my daughter and I. My daughter starts crying because she's only 5. I'm this close to punching her. Manager runs over and grabs the cup from the lady and tells her she needs to leave before she calls the cops. If I don't plan to already. Lady spits on the manager. Manager calls the cops. They arrest the lady and the company gives me a day's worth of free pay for the issues she caused. I definitely pressed charges too. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, number 58. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Well, I don't know what's been going on, but there's been people yammering outside all night for hours. It's 3:30 in the morning, I can still hear them. They're not too close, so they haven't really interrupted recording too much, but yeah, don't know what they're doing, but they're certainly having a good time. However, I did earlier heard something that quite annoyed me, and I hope I was wrong because it's quite early for it. Thought I heard fireworks off in the distance. No, we are in the 22nd of August as I record this, and it's a little early for fireworks. I mean, you will get them in the run-up to November, and it'll continue on till after Christmas, actually. So that's another joy to look forward to while I'm trying to work, but we'll work around it, we do every year. Anyway, I shall wander out tomorrow, probably do a little bit of shopping for whatever I need. Then I'll begin prepping for the weekend videos. And I'm probably going to start work on next week's Glitch Monthly. I've got all the stories I need for it. It was actually remarkably easy getting them this time. I got everything I need and then some, so I guess I may start on the following months as well. And I'll likely begin recording for that maybe on Sunday or something. But yeah. Okay, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.